And welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Broncos. Let's go. I'm here with my man Zach Seegers and his game week, man. I'm pumped up already. I'm very pumped up. I'm already over the loss. The Broncos got me hooked again, Zach. It's crazy. Every single time they have me hooked. I don't care what happens. The same thing happens every year. I don't care what happened last week. I'm in for this week yet again. How are you feeling? Are you as hyped as I am for the Broncos game?
I'm pretty excited because I do think this team is at least different. I'm not sure if they're good yet, to be real, but I do think they're at least different than the Broncos teams we've had in the past. I'm buying into the offense a little bit. You got Jerry Jeudy coming back this week. Could be a fun game. Really hope they win because 0-2 I'm pretty sure Miami week 3, right? That's scary. That's scary. You really feel like you're looking on the barrel of 0-3 at that point.
Without question. That would be bad. If the Broncos lose, it's scary because the Broncos probably aren't going to beat Miami. I don't think that's news to anybody listening to the podcast right now. Washington does seem like a W to me, though, Zach, and we're going to talk about that later. First, let's knock out the news, though. Jerry Jeudy's back. I am ecstatic about Jerry Jeudy being back, Zach. Absolutely ecstatic. I think he's the best wide receiver on this team. There are 1,000 reasons as to why we should feel excited, and Broncos fans should feel excited. Give me your reasons as to why you're excited, because I know you're in the same boat as me.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, because he's one of the more explosive weapons this offense has. I don't think he's like your typical vertical field stretcher. A lot of people, think of him as more of a route runner, and I think there's a lot of truth to that. But was targeted. If you look at last season, 26% of his targets came on passes that were 20 plus yards downfield. Right. 36% of his targets came on passes that were deeper than 10 yards downfield. Russell Wilson's average depth of target, and it is my one big concern with the offense after 1 week. His average depth of target, was only 4 yards per attempt, which is shockingly low. Like that is like what you might expect a Taysom Hill offense to look like. Yeah. And he ran it very efficiently, but you do need a little more pop. It's going to be very hard for the Broncos to live that way for 17 games. Jeudy provides a little more of that. I hope we also see Mims used a little more that way. I know Robbie broke down in an awesome film breakdown that you can find on our channel earlier this week. Broke down how there were some deep opportunities there that the Broncos just missed out on. Yeah, I'm excited to see that part of the offense hopefully come through this week.
Well, Zach, you even mentioned like the average depth of target, and I totally agree. It's not ideal, but it might be kind of what we're dealing with until it's so effective that teams have to move out of that too high look, right? Where you can start taking some of those deeper shots down the field where Russ really thrives, and he still thrives. Zach, Jerry Jeudy, a reason why I'm so excited to have him back is because he can make those short plays into long plays. He could make a 5-yard pass or a 5-yard slant and take that 30 yards down the field, juke one guy, and we're off running type situation. I don't think anybody else in this wide receiver room can bring anything like that except for Jerry Jeudy. When you're focusing so much on the quick game, being able to make a man miss is important, and I think Judy's the best of anybody in this group to do that. So that's a big deal.
Yeah, and 12th in the NFL last year in yards per route run, which is a receiver metric I absolutely love. I think he was on the verge of breaking out last season in an utterly dysfunctional offense. This year, things are looking a little better. I'm kind of excited for what we could see from Jerry Jeudy if that hamstring isn't still hampering him, which, of course, I think is a possibility we have to mention.
Yeah, it's 1,000%. Hammy stick around for a while usually, but hey, he's back sooner than expected. I hope that's good news. Give me some more of that Javonte Williams juju, right? But let's go into an actual injury, and that's Frank Clark. He's going to be out this next week for a Broncos pass rush, Zach, that already has struggled so much. They had, one pressure this last week, I think it was. They were abysmal. And that pressure came off a blitz, and it was Alex Singleton. So the defensive line was abysmal trying to get after the quarterback. Do you think, how big of a loss is Frank Clark this next week?
Oh, shoot. Yeah, I think it's a pretty big loss. Like, I wasn't very impressed with what we saw the first week, admittedly, but you're not going to see the pass rush get any better by removing him. I do think the coaching staff probably has a pretty good read of what their edge rushing room looks like, and he was starting for a reason. Now maybe this allows someone like a Nick Benito or something to break out, but more often than not, this is going to land a tough team or land a team in a tough position rather. Yeah, I'm really, really concerned about it. I don't know what else to say. I just, Jonathan Cooper, I mean, he's looked good. That maybe getting him some more snaps, I could see him maybe outproducing Frank Clark. But
I definitely could, honestly.
it's, I just think it hurts. How this Broncos pass rush is built is they don't have any ace pitches, but they've got like a lot of options. You can keep everyone fresh, and you could, in theory, just send waves of guys at the offense. This is you're already down one with Baron Brownie. Now you're down two with Frank Clark.
Yeah, I agree. Like, okay, when you add up the Baron Browning, Frank Clark, that's where it gets scary to me. But in a perfect world, I mean, honestly, 3 guys on the Broncos roster. They might not all be healthy, right? Because you just mentioned Baron Browning. I have 3 Broncos pass rushers better than Frank Clark. I think he's our 4th best pass rusher, with Nick Benito being our 5th. Is it a big loss for this week? Yes. Is it a big loss for the Broncos just generally? Probably not. I have a hard time seeing Frank Clark in a Broncos uniform next year at the end of the day. So like it's not a huge loss. I don't think he's a guy that's so spectacular. He's a game changer, blah, blah, blah. It's just, it's already salt on the wound, I guess, is the issue. When you have a pass rush that performed as poorly as they did last week, and then now you're down another guy, right? That's mostly the issue. I'm not even speaking to the quality of player Frank Clark is. It's just like, we need guys. That's it.
Yeah, no, it's weakening the unit. It's a big concern for the Broncos. Hopefully, Sam Howell can bail them out a little with his lack of pocket awareness.
hopefully, shout out to the Sam Howell believer, who everyone knows who I'm speaking of. I am going to transfer us over to a different topic here, Zach. We're going to go into key matchups for this game. I'm really interested to know who you are watching. And when we're talking about matchups, I'm talking about somebody on the Broncos versus somebody on the Commanders, right? And I want to know, who do you have circled? Who do you have penciled in as something that you're excited to watch or you're worried about? Just give me your key matchup.
Yeah, well, let's go with Jerry Jeudy for my one, at least. I'll go Jerry Jeudy against this Commander secondary, specifically Kendall Fuller. Now they'll move him around. He'll match up with everyone. But I'm curious to see what Jeudy can do in this first game back. He is coming back from the hamstring. I don't expect him, because it was a fairly serious hamstring injury. I believe he was carted off the practice field when that went down.
Yeah.
I don't know. We just talked about it. This Broncos offense needs explosiveness. They need, frankly, not even just down the field, aggressive passing, but yards after the catch ability. Not only is Jeudy maybe this team's best downfield option, he's their best yards after the catch option. They need more out of the passing game. Like, the efficiency was there last week, but the big plays, the explosiveness, the scoring wasn't quite there for them to have success. I think Jeudy has to whoop this Washington secondary, because I don't think Russ is going to have a lot of time in that pocket. This offensive line, which I have a feeling maybe that's the direction you're going with your matchup. This offensive line, I don't think was really fully tested by that Raiders front. They will be by this Washington Commanders front that has a couple $20 million men on it, a couple first-round picks on it that haven't yet become $20 million men, but easily could in the near future here. Yeah, Jeudy has to have a big day.
He does. Jeudy has to have a big day for all the reasons you mentioned. Zach, is it fair to say that Jeudy is the best wide receiver in this room?
Oh yeah. Like until we see something out of Courtland Sutton, Jeudy, I think, has some special to him. He's been a disappointment relative to his draft slot. And just you look at how good the highly drafted young wide receivers are turning out kind of around the NFL. He's one of the biggest disappointments there. I still think he's the best wide receiver in this room.
Yeah. I mean, is it close? That's the question I'm asking myself. I don't know. I think Cortland does a lot of things good, but I think he's a good wide receiver. I think he's a guy you like to have. I think he's fine. I think everything good about Cortland. I just don't know at Cortland's point in his career where is like the big, this is his go-to, this is what he does. Like with Jerry Jeudy, I can point to he's one of the best route runners, and he's pretty damn good yards after catch. What is that thing that what's the word I'm using to explain Cortland Sutton and what his selling point is?
I think he's replacement level, kind of like across the board. I think he's like average starter, maybe even a little below that with how talented wide receivers are in the NFL. But I think he's like an average number 2, maybe in the NFL. That might be that might even be generous. Unfortunately, I hate to say it, but to me, he's like, I don't know, if you play like Super Smash Brothers or like Mario Kart, and all the characters have their different stats, and then Mario's just like fine at everything. That's kind of how I feel about Cortland Sutton at this point in his career. And that's like, it's not bad to have. I don't think he's got like a glaring weakness in his game either. But yeah, I don't think he's not the receiver that any offensive coordinators like dialing up a designer play for. Excuse me, Joey.
You're all good. And this is he's coming off one of his better games, I think. I thought Frankie did a terrific job of highlighting how good Cortland Sutton was in this last game. And then even Robbie, who obviously is part of our show as well, was on Twitter speaking up how great Cortland Sutton was this last year. It's just, I guess his like scale to me is a little skewed just because of what I thought of him in his second year. I thought legitimately this guy was going to be a number 1 wide receiver and one of the best in the NFL. At that time, I was like, oh my God, if he cleans up his route running, this guy's going to be crazy good. So
I think that still could have happened if he never had the ACL. Some of me still really thinks that was there if not for the ACL. One of the more costly injuries the Broncos have had in recent years, and they've had plenty of them.
Yeah. Well, okay, let me tell you my key matchup, Zach, and that is going to be up front. I'm working in the trenches. Everyone knows if you're a fan of the show, you know how much I like trench play. That's what I pay attention to when I turn on the film, mostly every single time. And I'm gonna highlight Ben Powers versus Jonathan Allen, and then I'm also highlighting Quinn Miners versus Payne. But their 2 interior defensive linemen are kick-ass dudes. Like, they really are. It's one of the better interior defensive line units just when you're looking at the starters in the entire NFL. I'll tell you, I think Quinn Miners handles Payne pretty good. Ben Powers versus Jonathan Allen. Ben Powers can get out of this saying, I'm still a pretty good guard, and get his ass kicked. That's how good Jonathan Allen is. Jonathan Allen is tremendous football player. He's so good. If you guys just go turn on the film of Jonathan Allen, you're going to know exactly what I'm talking about. He's on a bad football team, and he's been on a bad football team his entire career, so he never gets the respect. But Jonathan Allen is amazing. I hope the Broncos send as much help over there, double him, send Lloyd over to Jonathan Allen's side all day long. Try to take care of Payne with Quinn Miners. I don't know. But Jonathan Allen is a tremendous football player, and this matchup kind of worries me. If Ben Powers gets out of this and we don't hear, and I'm not screaming his name, like, what is Ben Powers doing today? That means he had a awesome game.
Yeah, I fully agree. And you're dead on about Jonathan Allen making $18 million on average over the life of his contract. This season, he's making $21 million. The defensive lineman making more than him, Cam Hayward, right, perennial All-Pro, Aaron Donald, maybe the best defensive player of all time, at least in the conversation, and Chris Jones, who just held out to get a raise and like held the Chiefs hostage. And then Leonard Williams, who has that like crazy albatross of a contract from the Giants. but he's legit. And then if you look at just average annual value, who are the highest paid defensive tackles? Aaron Donald with the Rams, Quinnen Williams with the Jets, Jeffrey Simmons with the Titans, Deron Payne with the Commanders. I mean, two absolute studs. I am very worried.
It's similar to the Giants. And I remember, I think it was 2 years ago, we played the Giants, and everyone was like, our interior offensive line sucks. When really, you were out there playing Leonard Williams and Dexter Lawrence. It's like that. You guys are going to get they're going to get worked, I would say, more than likely. It's just how well you can hold up.
But here's what I'd say. Like, Quinn Miners, maybe you are fine with it, but Quinn Miners is, I would argue, maybe supposed to be the best offensive lineman on this team.
Yeah.
At least is supposed to be in the conversation for it. Ben Powers is supposed to be one of the best guards in the league. In the same way we just talked about what the defensive tackles are making for Washington. If we're to look at the guards, he's a left guard. Let me pull that up quick. He's the one. He's right where Deron Payne is, just about. He's the sixth highest paid guard, left guard, over the life of the contract. So I do think, yes, we might expect him to be worked, but or lose that battle is maybe. I expect him to lose the battle. When I turn on the tape, if I'm like tallying who's winning each rep, I imagine Jonathan Allen or Deron Payne will win a majority of the reps, but you can't get worked. You're getting paid too much money to get worked.
So here's the issue. Most of the time, and Brandon Thorne, he corrected me on this, and I'm happy he did. Most of the time, it's going to be Jonathan Allen versus Ben Powers. It's going to be Deron Payne versus Quinn Miners, just the way the defense is going to be set up. If it were flipped around, I'd say the Broncos have a better shot. Jonathan Allen, there's a difference. If you're a top 12 guard, you're going to get your ass kicked by that top 5 D tackle, that top 10. And he might be a top three tack in the league, right? We want to put it into one grouping. Nose tackle and 3 tech, completely different positions. Why we put them into one is kind of really stupid. Every single team has one in the NFL. And Jonathan Allen's top 3. He's amazing. He's really, really good at that position. He's going to get his ass kicked, I'd say.
I mean, and I get that he's top 3 in his position, but the Broncos are paying him, again, if we want to get into the hyper specificity of positions, they're paying Ben Powers to be a top 6 left guard. I do think, and I know you can divide it.
That's not how that works, though, Zach.
I do think it is kind of how it works, frankly. No. Like, if you are getting paid to be one of the better players at your position, you can't get worked. You can't. I'd say the same thing about JC Jackson with the Chargers. You're one of the highest paid cornerbacks in the league. You have to put up a respectable effort. I'm not saying they've got to win every matchup. They're not going to, but you can't get worked.
Okay, here's what. If Justin Herbert goes up for contract, he will be the highest paid quarterback in the NFL. Is he the best quarterback? No. It's just you have to pay guys in free agency. You're going to overpay guys in free agency. If you want cream of the crop talent, you're going to have to overpay where they actually stand.
But that's part of the problem.
I don't think the Broncos ever came here if the Broncos signed Ben Powers thinking that he was going to stop Jonathan Allen, they're a bunch of idiots.
It's not that he has to stop him. It's not that he has to stop him. It's that he's one of the highest paid, one of the most expensive left guards in the planet. He better do his job at a high level. That's just,
and Zach,
they've got the most expensive.
Here's my point. Jonathan Allen can kick his ass and him still be worth that much money because there's 3 defensive tackles in the league that can whoop his ass. That's my point. You can't. That's just not how it works. Like Jonathan Allen, if Aaron Donald could kick every single guard's ass in the league, the highest paid guard, he could whoop his ass. And I'm not saying that guard's not worth his money.
But Aaron Donald's a generational talent. I do think there's a difference.
Crop here, though.
I don't know. Personally, I disagree. I do think this Broncos offensive line is the most expensive in the NFL for this season. Yes, it's a tough matchup. You have to be respectable. You can't have, I'd say this, if they had the most expensive wide receiver core in the NFL, and actually they might, you've got to get more out of your wide receivers. You can't have a wide receiver room that's against the Raiders, just fairly uncompetitive, and you're investing that much money into it. maybe they had to do that in free agency, but it is a problem if you are paying a guy to be an elite guard and he's getting worked by the elite defensive tackles. I think you want him to at least be respectable.
Okay, we'll
can
move
move
on.
on.
We'll move on. Do you have any more you want to highlight there? That was a fun little disagreement.
Yeah. Frankie's comment about Damari Mathis versus John Dotson. Oh, and I'm glad Carter's asking about the white jerseys too. I got to comment on both of these. First, I think Damari Mathis and Jahan Dotson is going to be really interesting to watch. I do think Damari Mathis could maybe bounce back. It seems so crazy to say, but it was one game and he was pretty good last year. We have a bigger sample size of good Damari Mathis play than bad Damari Mathis play. I don't think it's crazy that he might bounce back. Now, Jahan Dotson is a dramatically better player, went in the top 20 picks of last year's draft for a reason, was a dog last year as a rookie. This is a brutal bounce back, or like setting up the bounce back here for Damari Mathis is like really hard to imagine. And I hate that the Broncos are wearing white at home. I despise it. You should wear your team colors at home unless you're the Dallas Cowboys. That's my take.
Okay. Why unless the Dallas Cowboys? Why are you giving the Dallas Cowboys the pass, Zach?
Because they've been doing it since their franchise started. So like the white jerseys are their home jerseys. Like if you just make the white jerseys your home jerseys, if that's your primary color, you can do it. Then it's fine. But if it's just like, oh, we want to wear the road jerseys at home today, I hate it. I will be like an old man about that. I don't care. Like, wear your team colors at home. The Cowboys colors are white and navy, so they can do their little deal.
Screw the Cowboys. I'm showing up with my white uniforms too, and I'm going to see what they have to say about it. That's my take. I'm not following their little rules. I'm not doing that. Anyways, let's move into bold predictions. Zach, the bold predictions episode. That's pretty much what this is on a weekly basis. Every single Friday when you tune in, we're going to do bold predictions. It's fun working in key matchups, though. We should do this more often. If you guys like that, let us know in the Discord or through Twitter or however you guys communicate with us. That'd be awesome. Bold predictions, though. I want to know your bold prediction. We are keeping track of this, Zach, for the year. Give me what you think is going on.
Yeah, and to the point about keeping track, last week, Bree predicted a PS2 interception, and while PS2 had an amazing game, he did not get an interception. We both took her up on that and won. You predicted 2 Randy Gregory sacks. As we the Broncos did not get a single sack as a team. So you lost there. I came maybe closest. You could argue between me and Bree. I said 75 Javonte Williams rushing yards. He finished with 50 rushing yards. None of us hit. All of us took up everyone on each other's bets. As a result, the score is tied at 2-2. Here's my, or actually, I'll throw out Bree's. Bree can't join us today. She's at a WWE match, I think, in Denver. Shout out her. I hope that's a lot of fun. She's predicting Jerry Jeudy gets a touchdown in his first game back, which is shocking to me because she's the resident Jeudy hater.
Okay. Wow. Okay, that's interesting. How many was that?
One touchdown for Jerry Jeudy.
Ooh, I'm not taking that bet. I think there's a pretty good. So it correlates with my bet, so I can't do it.
I like it. I am actually, man, if we both don't take it, I feel like that's crazy. But I was thinking like this is one of the rare ones I think I'm not going to take. I feel like this offense moved the ball so well last week. 5th in points per drive, 3rd in yards per drive. Adding Jeudy to that mix, I think, and Russ looked really good in the red zone. I feel like Jeudy scores this week as well. So wow, Bree gets no one to take her up.
We're too big of Jeudy fans over here, guys. You're not going to get us on the Jeudy stuff. You said Jeudy scored a touchdown, Zach and I are saying we agree. That's what's going on. Right. Let's talk Broncos.
So I'll throw out mine here then. I think the Denver Broncos as a team, I'm not going to go specific like you did. I'm going to say the Denver Broncos as a team record 4 sacks.
Okay.
That's where I'm going.
Whew.
Which is pretty good. The average, wait, how many quarterbacks got sacked at least 4 times last week? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Yeah,
The top third of the league.
I think the
the
Commanders have a very mid O-line. If I look across it from across the board, they have no one that really is like, oh my God, that's a dominant player right there. That comes to mind. But 4 seems like a lot coming off of what happened last week, where I think everybody's worrying now if the Broncos can have any pass rush this year. I would like to say, guys, I think that was kind of a fluke. I think the Broncos have too much time. I don't think Randy Gregory is a bad football player. I've seen what he can do throughout his career. If that's the consistent for the rest of the year, he's just not good anymore. And I don't think that's the truth. So I am going to say it averages out, but 4 might be a little rich for me, seeing what we saw. Maybe it comes in more of a progressive style. Maybe they have 2 or 3 next week and then, gradually move their way up to 4 at some point this season. I don't see it. I'm going to take you up on that offer.
I'm glad you are. So now that I've got you on the hook, Sam Howell created a lot of problems for his offensive line last week. It was 10th in terms of the rate of pressures that were quarterback created, which I think is really huge. And then I think he held on to the ball longer than any other quarterback in the league in week 1. Let me just make sure. Not quite. But still 2.73 seconds, holding on to it about as long as Justin Fields in the pocket. I think that'll help the Denver Broncos pass rush up or pass rush out rather. And I think they get those sacks.
Zach,
fingers crossed at least.
Okay. You mentioned Justin Fields real quick. I'm going to take us off topic real quick.
No.
How many more weeks until you're off that train? This is a buddy and me. Me and a buddy were talking about this today. How many more weeks until you're just like completely off the wagon?
I'm pretty close to being off it now. If we're still talking this way at the end of September, I'm off. I'm done. I broke my rule. Famously, I was one of the first people to be strongly off the Drew Lock train. And I was saying, look, generally speaking, we know what these quarterbacks are after 16 starts. And if they've started 16 games and you still don't know what they are, they're probably not good. Are there exceptions to that rule? Yes, but that works about 95% of the time. And just because I liked Justin Fields, the prospect, so much, I was willing to give him more than that 16 start quota. We saw week 1, and I'm like, I shouldn't have broken the rule. 16 starts, unless like Urban Meyer is your head coach, is generally enough to figure out what a quarterback is.
Frankie's giving me shit in the comments right
now. Let me clarify. Not enough to figure out what a quarterback is, but whether or not they're going to be special.
Okay. Fair. I'm giving him until week 5. Or actually, I'm going to give him until week 8 because I have a soft spot for Justin Fields. He's on my football team, and I'm not covering that team. So I'm allowed to be biased. I'm giving him until week 8 until I'm off the train. And then once we approach week 8, if he has like 1,000 rushing yards, I might get back on it. Who knows? Anyway, so week 8 for me. My bold prediction, though, Zach, back to the Broncos, because that's what we're talking about here is let's talk Broncos sometimes. I'm going to predict that Russ has 290 or more passing yards. He's only been able to do that once in his Broncos career, Zach. He came close a couple times, 2 other times, but he's only cleared this once. He's only got over the 290 passing yards mark one time. That is my bold prediction. I think the Russ good play continues. I think he has his best passing yards performance other than the Seattle game, game 1 of last year, passing yards wise. Do you agree with me or disagree with me?
I think you're being a coward not going for the whole 300 here. I mean, that's crazy. You're going to put it right at 290.
We're playing a game here. That's what we're doing. And you're going to take it because you're a Russell Wilson hater. See, I probably could have gone 250 and you say, I'm taking that bet.
I mean, I do really like what we saw that first week, but to go back to our key matchup, the thing I keep thinking about with this game is I'm expecting the Washington defensive line to kind of cruise here. I think they are going to whoop the Broncos offensive line, and it really worries me. Now, I think the Broncos defense is going to play a lot better this week. I am not a Sam Howell believer. He looked really rough week 1. So I think it's a lower scoring game, and part of that to me is I think it's going to be really hard for the offense to move the ball. I think it could look a little like Joe Burrow against the Cleveland Browns, where it just like is not getting a chance because the opposing defensive line is going so crazy. So yeah, I'll take you. I'll take you up on it, Joey.
Okay. The reason, Zach, I think the Broncos are going to have to throw this game is for the exact same reason why you think it's going to be a low scoring game. That interior defensive line is going to be tough to run on for the Broncos, I imagine. It's not going to be the easiest. Now, are Washington linebackers the best? No. I famously was a huge fan of Jamin Davis, and he's blown up in the NFL. He has not done anything to the point. But their linebackers are really nothing to speak of in that run game. But, I mean, Daron Payne and Jonathan Allen are monsters. And I think the Broncos are going to have to get it done in the air, and I think there's room to. They're starting a rookie, obviously, in the first round in Emmanuel Forbes. Kendall Fuller's still a pretty good football player, and then it's Benjamin St-Juste. All pretty solid, if I'm being honest. But I think you're looking at great on that interior defensive line, and I'm not willing to put my money on that the Broncos are going to run the ball super efficiently. I think Russ and Sean Payton are going to have to start cooking a little this game. So I'm going 290, bro. 290 plus for Russell Wilson.
I like it.
I'm happy about it too. I am really happy about it. I think you know what did it? Robbie's video. And if you guys haven't checked that out, just go type in Let's Talk Broncos on YouTube. Go under the videos tab. Go there. Watch Frankie's video as well. He highlights the best 2 Broncos that he saw every single week. Go watch those film breakdowns immediately. They're both so good, and we're so lucky to have that on our channel.
Absolutely. And who else in Broncos country is doing this, honestly? Who else in Broncos country is uploading 2 X's and O's film breakdowns every week? And I know Broncos country wants this content. Every time a Brett Coleman or a JT O'Sullivan or a Tim Jenkins makes a Broncos-focused video, I see it blowing up on my Twitter feed because everyone is like, oh my God, we finally have an X's and O's breakdown for the Broncos. Robbie and Frankie are delivering that to you every single week. If you haven't checked it out yet, you are sorely missing out. Rectify that mistake.
Totally. Go do that immediately. Carter says LTB to the moon. That's the phrase. Hashtag LTB to the moon all the time. Anyways, Zach, do you have anything else you want to get off your chest before the game here?
Maybe some score predictions really quick.
Score predictions. Yes. See, this is why I ask. Here's your score prediction.
Yeah, I'm going. Well, first, let me again deliver Bree's here. Bree admitted that she kind of handed off responsibilities here to her brother, Brandon. So shout out Brandon, who has the Broncos winning 17-7. He thinks it's 10-7 late in the 4th quarter, and the Broncos have a late touchdown drive to ice the game away. 17-7 there. I'm feeling a pretty similar vibe. I'll go 20-13 Broncos win. 2016 Broncos win. I think you finally Sean Payton, I don't think drops to 0-2. That's very hard for me to envision, especially like an 0-3 Sean Payton team. And let's get the Broncos to that 20-point threshold everyone wants them to get to.
Man, I think the Broncos are going to win more than that. I don't see, other than the front there for Washington, I'm not like, where am I supposed to be super impressed? Like, I'm really just not through their starters. And I think the Broncos are going to be able to get the ball going and moving downfield in a faster pace than they did last week, throwing the football with Jerry Jeudy back and with an improvement in Russell Wilson we're seeing this year. So I'm going 27-14 Broncos. That's what I'm going. I'm willing to put my money where my mouth is. I'm going to put some money on it, the over on the Broncos there for this game. I just feel pretty good about it. I think the Broncos are going to beat up on the Commanders.
I like it. I'll pitch one idea because you said the fronts. That's maybe one idea or one area you see a talent disadvantage. The other thing that's got me scared, are they able to just pick on the Broncos secondary like the Raiders were? Because Damari Mathis versus Jahan Dotson, like I said, I could see a bounce back performance for Damari Mathis. I could also see that being a lot uglier than last week because Jahan Dotson's a better player than Jacoby Myers.
You know what they don't have, though, is a methodical and smart quarterback like Jimmy Garoppolo, who's been in the league for a really long time. Being on that middle of the field, which is where Damari Mathis was just getting torn up. So I don't see, even if Jahan Dotson's whooping up on Damari Mathis, can he get the ball? He still needs a guy to deliver it there for him. So I don't see him having as productive of a day, even if Jahan Dotson's the better receiver. Now, if we get a bunch of Terry McLaurin versus Damari Mathis, that might be a little different.
That's scary.
Yeah, that's very scary. But hey, we got our score predictions out. Tweet us, guys, like and subscribe to the video. And I think that's all for us today. So please go Broncos.
Go Broncos. Sunday night. Stock up, stock down.